A check of your top stories. Another person now facing charges. This is connected to the largest pandemic fraud case in U.S. history.
The fallout continues from the Feeding Our Future scheme. In a new affidavit, the FBI says a woman used an email account to carry out wire fraud and submit fake business records. Now, more than 40 people, including the program's founder, Amy Bach, have already pleaded guilty or been convicted in this case. They said they were using federal dollars to give meals to thousands of kids during the pandemic, but instead pocketed the cash. This is the same case where a juror approached and offered more than $100,000 in exchange for a not guilty verdict.
Now, Barrett Leone is at the live desk this morning with the details of this new charging document. And Barrett, this case we know has been full of twists and turns since the start, but turns out apparently they're still investigating.
Yeah, they sure are. This is the latest charge. It comes nearly 2 years after the Department of Justice first unveiled its investigation, showing that the $250 million fraud scheme is far from over. Authorities arrested and charged Hebo Dar. A 23-page affidavit claims she used a Gmail account to carry out wire fraud and submitting false business records to Feeding Our Future. They also found evidence of outlandish numbers on invoices. So according to court documents, Dar's food site, Northside Wellness Center, claimed to serve 52,000 meals in the month of January 2021. Later that year, it claimed to serve 40,000 meals every week. Another vendor invoice submitted by Northside Wellness claimed they bought 3,000 gallons of milk in 1 month. At New Vision Foundation, we found similar claims, although no charges have been made in connection to this raid in St. Paul last week. Court documents say the nonprofit claimed to serve thousands of meals to children daily in St. Paul and Waite Park. So since the start of the 2-year investigation, 44 defendants have pleaded guilty or been convicted. That, of course, includes Feeding Our Future founder Amy Bach, whose appeal is still ongoing. FBI agents also believe that Dar was a flight risk. We'll explain why in about a half hour.
All right, Barrett Leone reporting for us from the live desk this morning. Thank you. Later on this morning, jury selection will continue in the trial of a driver who's accused of killing 5 young women in a high-speed crash.
I can't personally get over anything until I know for a fact that justice has been served.
So charging documents say that Derek Thompson was driving 95 miles an hour on 35W. They say he was weaving in and out of traffic in a reckless manner. He now faces multiple murder charges. Now, it was these 5 women who were killed in that 2023 crash in Minneapolis, all of them between the ages of 17 and 20 years old. Now, Thompson is accused of cutting across 4 lanes to exit at Lake Street and then running a red light before colliding with the car with those young women in it. They'd been out shopping before a friend's wedding. Eric Nelson is the defense attorney. He's not associated with this case, and he says that 5 counts of third-degree homicide that Thompson is charged with, those are the most serious ones he's facing.
A third-degree murder is what we call depraved mind or depraved heart murder. It's essentially committing an act with just absolute no regard, absolutely no regard for anybody, for the lives of someone.
Now, Thompson's lawyer says they're going with a alternative perpetrator defense. In other words, they're arguing that someone else besides Thompson was driving. Now, he is the son of a former DFL state lawmaker. Potential jurors did fill out a questionnaire yesterday. They will return to the courts this morning. And residents may be finally returning home, but experts warn the devastation caused by the wildfires up north is far from over.
3 of those fires are at least 80% contained. A contained fire means firefighters have established a perimeter around the fire, stopping its spread. It does not mean the fire is out. A 4th fire started by lightning is now burning in a remote part of the Boundary Waters. That's just contained to 9 acres. So while the fires may be burning out, the impacts of the wildfires are going to linger. One University of Minnesota researcher says it'll hurt the watershed, increase sediments in our lakes, which leads to murkier water and more questions.
How long are they visible within these lakes? And more importantly, are there lakes that are more sensitive to these changes or more resistant to them, so we can have a better idea of how we should be managing these watersheds post-wildfires.
Scientists also worry about the presence of mercury in fish along with lake quality. In total, the wildfires in northern Minnesota have burned about 30,000 acres and 150 buildings. All evacuation orders were lifted Monday.